Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Grid Encore. We took the live off Grid Live Encore because, let's face it, our coverage of these series really isn't live. I'm Ben Schneider, joined as always by Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
All right, Ben. And yes, really feeling the Grid Encore vibes with this new intro music. Sounds great. Thank you, Joe, wherever you are tonight. Yes, ready for another week of some odd things and the Dover weekend all around providing a lot of fun, and Barber as well.
Yeah, plenty to recap from Dover with an ARCA combo race. Finally, we got the main ARCA Menards Series after the East Series car count struggling a little bit there in recent years. But solid ARCA race, I would say. Great Xfinity race as well. Xfinity proving once again that perhaps the Gen 7 car should have just been the Xfinity Series car. I know there was a lot of talk about the air blocking and mirror driving that Denny Hamlin did to hold off Kyle Larson, but we got a thrilling finish in the Xfinity Series race as well. And we will talk briefly about the Indy NXT race at Barber Motorsport Park as well as we close out the show. But first, as always, to open the show, I want to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters, Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us. It's what allows Jackson to get us the IndyCar coverage he's gotten us the last couple of weeks at Thermal and Long Beach. What's going to allow me to go out to Portland in about a month's time to join Joe out there for some ARCA and Xfinity Series action. And as you can see, if we can reach our goal of $500 per month through Patreon, we can start doing that on a more regular basis for you, the viewers. That will expand our coverage and what we're trying to build here at Grid Network. If you'd rather make a one-time donation instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below. Or if you're watching us live on YouTube, we now have the Super Chats enabled as well. And as always, you can follow us on all of our social media platforms and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel. Every bit helps us continue to grow what we're trying to build here at the Grid Network. Now let's start with the NASCAR Xfinity Series race and a little bit of deja vu from 2023. It was Ryan Truex once again taking the win for Joe Gibbs Racing. So Brandon, I think a lot of people have been very impressed with Ryan's performances at Dover over the last couple of years. Do you see him kind of as a Dover ringer in the same way that Tyler Reddick was at Homestead on his way to a couple championships in this series a few years back? Or do you think that he's somebody who could put these kinds of performances in week and week out? He just needs a full-time ride to do so.
I'm not sure. I think this may be a little more of he's got an expertise at a special kind of track, and it just so happens to be close to home in Mayetta, New Jersey, with Dover, Delaware. I think this may just be. I mean, he's certainly really good at Dover Motor Speedway, and it was amazing. Like he only had to lead 3 laps to win this race, and had to be leading there at the white and during overtime to be able to take the win. But yeah, Ryan Truex, he's had his opportunities in the past in the Truck Series. He went, full time in 2021 and also 2017, and those were somewhat fruitful there. No wins, but a couple of top 5s and about 3 top 10s in 2021. But looking at his few starts here in the Xfinity Series, already racking up 3 top 10s this year and the 1 top 5 and had 3 top 5s last year for Coach Joe Gibbs, including that win here same time last year at Dover. So, maybe in Toyota equipment, it could be a different situation. It would be interesting to see if he could get that opportunity, especially if he could maybe double down on the success he's having at Dover with another win this year.
Yeah, I think Ryan certainly made the most of his opportunities. Obviously, he's been running part-time with the Toyota and Joe Gibbs family for the last 3 years now in the Xfinity Series. But I do think, I think it's probably a combination of both. Ryan's been in the sport for a long time. He was actually a Toyota and Gibbs development driver way back in 2012 and sat on pole at Dover and finished second 12 years ago. So he's always, had a little bit of speed here and maybe, a secret ingredient to try to work his way to the front of the field at this track, throughout his entire career here. But he certainly made the most of the opportunities the last 2 years coming back. I think at the same time, though, I would like to see him full time. I don't know if there's enough room in the Toyota pipeline or stable right now. And, still in his early 30s, I wouldn't even rule out an eventual return to Cup, because his first Cup Series stint was BK Racing in 2014. And, there's only so much you can do in a ride like that. So I don't feel like he's really ever gotten a full, legitimate shot in a top Cup Series ride or a fair shot in a Cup Series ride is what I'm trying to say. So that's just that's the way things go in the sport. Sometimes it's unfortunate, but the way he's driving right now, Dover especially, I think is unequivocally his best track at this point in his career. But I do think, you look at some solid runs that he's had. He almost won Phoenix last year, driving the Gibbs car. Has had some strong runs here and there as well. I don't know if he would be a championship 4 favorite necessarily. I don't know if he would be the number 1 Toyota driver if you gave him a full-time ride. But I think based on the performances that he's shown, I think it couldn't hurt to give him that opportunity and see how he would perform over the course of a full season. He hasn't run a full season in Xfinity since 2018 with Colleague Racing, only had 1 top 5 that year. But that was really a year or two before Colleague started to come into their own and become a weekly contender in this series. I think AJ Allmendinger's arrival really coincided with that. So I don't know if Colleague was even quite where they are now. We think of them as a top team in the Xfinity Series. I don't know if they had quite achieved that status yet in 2018. We know Joe Gibbs has achieved that status and has been at that level for many, many years. So to give him a full-time opportunity, I think would be a great opportunity for him and a great opportunity for the fans to cheer him on. And, who knows, maybe he could, squeak out a couple of wins here or there at a track other than Dover as well.
Well, even with Colleague in 2018, the Xfinity Series it was about a third of the season he had top 10. So really not that bad, even if Colleague wasn't even in their prime yet.
Yeah, and that was probably about, the ceiling that Colleague had on most weekends, at that point in time. It was running in the back end of a top 10. If they could come away with a top 10, it was a solid day for them. Obviously, we know now, they've been to a couple of, they've been to 1 championship 4, probably should have gone to a second with AJ Allmendinger. And, the 2022, you think of the top 10 streak Allmendinger had, that was the first year that we were doing this show. And we were tracking that streak every week, it seemed. But, he only had 5 races that entire year where he wasn't in the top 10. The only problem was 2 of them came in the round of 8. But there's no doubt at this point that team is capable of championship runs. I don't think that, you could necessarily say that about them 6 years ago. But, again, he's in a different place in his career now. And, obviously, Toyota and Gibbs have a very strong Xfinity program. I think that it would be a great opportunity for him. And I don't know. I mean, again, I'm sure Toyota has a lot of prospects that are waiting for that 19 car, but wouldn't it be something if maybe Martin steps back in a couple of years, maybe Ryan Truex, maybe Martin does 1 more year, does another 1-year deal. Ryan gets a full-time shot in 2025 and maybe goes out and surprises some people. That would be certainly poetic if he were to maybe take that seat. That might be a little bit wishful thinking, though, because I know he has a lot of competition for a Cup Series seat at Joe Gibbs or at any of the Toyota cars. But, he certainly has the family relationship with Martin being there at their Cup program, and he's making the most of his opportunities with that team and that family on the Xfinity side.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's working really well for him, and wouldn't be surprised if there was some opportunity that showed up if he keeps improving.
Well, let's move on here to the driver that finished in second place. That would be Carson Kvapil, and thought for a second that he might be in line to take the win here. He kind of got moved out of the way on that last overtime restart. Ryan Truex was the beneficiary of that final opportunity to make that pass, and he went and took the win. More power to him. But Carson, again, I think very easily could have won this race. Only his second start and his second top 5 with Junior Motorsports. So, Brandon, how impressed have you been by Carson? And, we talk about Ryan Truex having to make the most of his limited opportunities. Carson Kvapil's 2 for 2 in his limited starts and even fewer opportunities for Junior Motorsports. He's certainly making the most of them as well.
Yeah, from one all-star car to the other, it was interesting to see that battle at Dover. Yeah, the case there with Carson Kvapil, I think that's even, kind of more impressive, I guess, because you look back at Martinsville, that was starting 12th, finished 4th. Well, that's more of his cup of tea with being in the late model scene, and that kind of being his niche. But coming to Dover, a mile track with all the banking, and still able to get it done, starting from 26th position, and ended up just runner-up there. And Ryan Truex was able to clear him and got that position fair and square, but still an outstanding job there for Carson Kvapil. And another one of those names you'll want to keep an eye on for sure. He is not done.
Yeah, of course, the son of longtime veteran Travis Kvapil, and certainly on the right path to making a future career for himself in this sport. Brandon, I want to ask you, when it comes to Carson, obviously, we talked, I think just last week on the show, actually, about, where the Hendrick drivers are right now, and there's probably not going to be any movement in their Cup program for the next couple of years at least. But when you think about the Xfinity program, do you see an opportunity opening up next year when you think of who's currently in those 4 full-time cars for somebody like Carson Kvapil, if he continues to run as strong as he has here? I almost think if you're Dale Earnhardt Jr., you almost can't afford to keep him on the sidelines, when it comes to finding an Xfinity seat for him in 2025. Otherwise, somebody else might make him an offer he can't refuse and might scoop him up.
Yeah, that's really rough. And I think we did talk about that before, of if there's going to be a weakest link at Junior Motorsports, who's it going to be? And who do you have the hard conversation with? I don't think if I'm Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Kelly Miller, I'm ready to make that conversation yet. But as you say, if he gets more chances and he shows like, look, you better take me now, or someone's going to yank me away and do great things with me. I mean, I guess I'm looking at Brandon Jones. I mean, that's got to be where you go, right?
Yeah. And, again, it's, I don't want to, make it personal or anything, or, Brandon's been in the series a long time. He's a good guy. And, to his credit, had some strong runs here or there. But, you just look at since he joined Junior Motorsports, the last calendar year, if you will, the last 365 days, he has 2 top 5 finishes in that 9 car. So Carson Kvapil in his first 2 starts has the same amount of top 5s as Brandon Jones has in the last year. He's got 3 total. He gave him Martinsville in the spring in 23 since he came to Junior Motorsports. So, again, I know, Brandon's a veteran, and he has, the sponsorship backing from Menards and a couple of other partners. So he's certainly set in that department. I don't know if he's set if Carson's set, as well as Brandon is. I doubt that's the case. But, again, just based off of performance and merit and statistics, I think it would be very hard to look at what Carson has done. And again, it's a small sample size. We would have to see how he performs over, a few more starts, and, we'll take the average over the course of a full season should he get that opportunity. But I think based on what we've seen so far, based on what we've seen from him in his late model days here, and, the starts that he continues to make over there, based on what we've seen from him, and, some ARCA opportunities as well, it's very hard not to look at that and think, okay, this kid's ready for the Xfinity Series. And if you had to make room at the end for Junior Motorsports, I hate to say it, but I think it's pretty clear Brandon Jones would probably be the first one that you would consider moving out of the way to allow Carson to take that seat.
As our friend Kobe Lambeth says, and as a bunch of other people say as well, it's not what you've done for me. How's it go? It's what you've done for me lately.
What you've done for me lately. That's the kind of business that we're in here. And again, just see on the results sheet right there, Brandon Jones down 19th. That's not that you can't have the occasional off day, but that should not be the norm for a Junior Motorsports car. Especially, Brandon had speed. He sat on the pole. He sat on the pole at Martinsville. But just has not, for whatever reason, been able to get the results that you would expect, and certainly that you got out of, Noah Gragson in that car. Tyler Reddick won a championship there. William Byron, Chase Elliott. I mean, that seat has a lot of success in terms of, what drivers have done in that car before he got in it. And unfortunately for Brandon, he has not been able to find that same level of success since he got in that car at the start of last season.
I'm beginning to mount my tinfoil hat bin, because at the 2 places that Carson Kvapil has started, Brandon Jones has started on the pole.
I would just chalk that up to a coincidence at this point. I don't know that there's
for now.
Well, we'll see. But again, where did he finish in those races? 27th and 19th. So that's, you certainly need to be running a little bit better than that if you're in a Junior Motorsports car. But again, I think if you're Dale in this situation, I think it's not going to be an easy decision to make, because I think, again, you've got a veteran driver who brings reliable funding, but it's another situation like Josh Berry, and Dale went on his podcast and said, I knew that if we didn't give Josh this opportunity, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. Well, based on how Carson is running now, I think, it could be another situation like that where you look at the stats that he's put up in such limited starts so far, and, how can this kid not be in the conversation for a full-time seat?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, one other driver I want to highlight here, Anthony Alfredo, the Dash for Cash winner. right after Ryan Sieg got it at Talladega. Brandon, I don't know about you, but it just warms my heart as a fan of the small teams and the underdogs in this series to see, a couple of teams like that take the Dash for Cash prize. How massive do you think this is for a small team like this in ARCA Motorsports right after Ryan Sieg Racing got it done Talladega?
Yeah, it's what this Dash for Cash program, I guess, is all about. Is some of these teams that don't get as much funding, or they don't get the finishes that this sport requires to keep things going the way they ought to, and to keep people employed and everything that goes into the financial aspect of these teams. That really does put a big boost in the economy, as it were. And for places like our motorsports, that really does mean a whole lot. And you gotta love that for both Ryan Sieg and Anthony Alfredo here in these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I just wish, excuse me, I just wish that his Fox Sports interview, Anthony Alfredo's, could have been aired on TV. I think with the couple of overtime restarts, Fox had to get off the air a little bit quickly, but they did tape an interview with Regan Smith, and it got posted the following morning on X/Twitter and on their socials there. So go check that out if you haven't already. But you could see the passion in his voice and in his face, that just how much this meant to a team like his. And again, I think that the Dash for Cash, it's certainly a nice to have for the junior motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racings of the world when they find themselves in position to win it. But you can't overstate just how much further that goes, I think, for a team in the situation of like an ARCA Motorsports or a Ryan Sieg Racing. And again, Alfredo was talking about how just everything from the number of employees to not having an alliance, and how much more they have to do with fewer resources. That $100,000 is going to go a long way. So we'll see if that leads to an uptick in performance. But to be completely fair to Anthony Alfredo, there's a reason why he found himself in the Dash for Cash position in the first place. It hasn't just been Talladega. He's had some solid runs and been in and around the top 10 multiple times this year. So good to see for a team like that.
Yeah, I remember the big break in 2021, getting to go to Front Row Motorsports for that full year and getting the chance to run for Rookie of the Year. That was a big breakout year for him, and he did a lot of good in the virtual world for NASCAR during the COVID outbreak and all that. And he really started, growing, I guess, is more of his fan base than during that time, and the whole fast pasta thing started catching on. It was a good time then.
All right, move on now to the ARCA race that took place the night before. And Carson Coapel was in the race, but let's talk about Connor Zilisch first here. He took the win despite some late race contact with William Sawalich. You see Sawalich fell out of the race down in 17th place, was up there contending for the win, as he frequently is in that Gibbs number 18 car, but just wasn't meant to be this weekend. So a little bit of controversy, I suppose, in the eyes of some. Then again, Dover is certainly a tough track, even for the Cup drivers. I think Zilisch kind of hit a bump there, and just circumstances led to the contact with Sawalich and forced him up into the wall. So an unfortunate deal for him. But as for Connor Zilisch, Brandon, how impressed do you continue to be by Zilisch scoring these top finishes in everything from IMSA, Daytona, and Sebring to running the truck race at COTA to now here in the ARCA series and taking a win?
Yeah, the contact with William Sawalich was unfortunate, but it's that concrete surface that those little things seem to happen here or there. But looking past that, Connor Zilisch is, I told you before the show, he's still continues to be, I think, a lot of people's next big thing category. He's one of those number one up and coming talents that's making their way through, and not just through the world of NASCAR, but you mentioned it, IMSA. All these different disciplines showing up in the Rolex 24 and being on, being in victory lane there. That's just an impressive resume he's building up so very young, and it's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, his second start with the Pinnacle Racing Group, and if you remember, he almost won Watkins Glen last year with a broken sway bar, got passed there at the very end by Jesse Love, I believe, to take that win, but still came away with a second place finish, and then backing up with a win here in his second start at Dover, his third ARCA-sanctioned start in totality. He did run the East race at Five Flag Speedway earlier this year and got a fourth place finish there. So he has been very strong every time he's gotten in the ARCA car. And, once again, Very strong result here. And I think you're absolutely right, Brandon. The future for Connor is going to be very interesting because I think he has a lot of different avenues and options he could choose. He could choose to go down the sports car path with how strong he's been in IMSA to start his career over there. But obviously he's been strong in the stock car on the ARCA scene as well. Certainly made the most of his truck opportunity at COTA. A very chaotic day for him, but very strong result there. And then doing his own version of a double with the ARCA East race at Five Flags later that night. So he is very serious and very committed to what he's trying to build here for his career. And I think again, very strong results. He's got a lot of talent, and it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes here in the future. But wherever he ends up, I have no doubt that he's going to be able to produce some strong results.
Yeah. Also getting the win on the oval here at Dover is pretty crucial as also for this growing career. Yeah. And it might even start putting some different weights on the scale of, all right, which way do I want to go? Because he's pretty successful with both. He's proven that.
Yeah. And then on another note, a very strong car count this year at Dover because we brought the full ARCA Menards Series. It was added to their schedule this year. Of course, this has always traditionally been an ARCA East race. It was for many years. The fall date was a K&N East race. Dover's obviously condensed down to one date now, but the East Series has always raced here. But now we have a full combination race with the main ARCA Menards Series. And, Brandon, we've been talking on the show the last couple of years about how, we struggle with the car counts here at Dover for ARCA East. And I think ARCA East struggles with car counts sometimes, just generally speaking. And again, the schedule, I think, is a discussion for another day, with how many combo races we have on the schedule and, East really lacking the identity that it used to have. But as for right here, right now in this Dover race, I think you would probably agree with me that it was a good move to bring the main ARCA Menards Series to Dover, and probably one that was long overdue.
Yeah, these cars are a lot of fun at Dover, especially when the sunlight's out. You got the slickness of the track going on, and the amount of banking and like I've said before, I just say it's slower cars with ARCA. It's a lot of those slides that are savable that may not be savable for Xfinity. You'll find there in the ARCA Menards Series. That was a great race to have on that track. And also, yeah, we've been talking about that for an Xfinity. Whenever I think of the ARCA East Series, I think of you talking about ticket prices at Dover and how they're outrageous just to go to a car count that's maybe like 4 or 5 drivers out there. That's exaggerated, of course, but but the one driver leading the entire race and taking the win.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I mean, it's and to be fair, you get this a lot of times in ARCA as well. Credit to Connor Zilisch and PRG for getting up there and making things competitive. But we've joked in the past that this is the 18 and 20 series with that Gibbs car and the Venturini car, and maybe we can add the 28 in there as well with how strong Connor Zilisch has been. But yeah, I mean, certainly nice to see a stronger car count here, and I think a good move on ARCA's part to bring the national tour here, and one that was certainly welcomed by the fans that got to be there. And again, I can certainly say what I will about the ticket prices. I still think I know Chesapeake Diecast was saying the same thing on X/Twitter earlier last week as well. But the Cup Series race in particular, it's been a long time since I've seen the crowd that full and that energized at what is now Dover Motor Speedway. You have to go back to when it was Dover International Speedway, maybe even Dover Downs International Speedway for a crowd size that strong. What we saw this weekend. So hey, that's great to see on the part of what is my former and I guess still in some ways home track here. So credit to all the fans who came out and put their money where their mouths are, and put on a good performance in terms of track attendance this weekend, because we know that the whole SMI takeover, there have been some questions about Dover's long-term future, but this certainly is going to go a long way in that.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's something to do with the SMI ownership, maybe changing. I don't know what the fan experience was like there previously, but other than that, but like the ARCA crowd, it looked pretty good for ARCA. For Xfinity, it looked really good for Xfinity, and then Cup, it was like, wow. Like at some points of the track, I really thought I was looking back in time. Like it looked really, really strong. And to your point, it was really good to see.
Yeah, it's been several years since I was at Dover. The only Cup race I've ever gone was spring of 2012, and I remember it took us a long time to get out of the track that day. I think we got to the track pretty early in the morning, so we didn't have too many issues getting there. But getting out was a different story at the end of the race. But I saw tweets from fans and media members alike saying that, I've gone a mile and a half here in the last hour, and we still haven't made it into the track yet. So it's a good problem to have, I suppose, for a track that, again, it's been in a situation that Dover's been in the last couple of years.
Definitely don't want Dover to be in question of its future, and that looked really good.
Sure. Yeah. All right. And finally tonight, let's talk briefly about the Indy NXT race in Alabama at Barber Motorsport Park. Jacob Abel taking the win. A great result for him, and that draws him level with Nolan Siegel in the point standings. They finished 1-2 in the season opener as well, but was a reverse around. Siegel took the win in the season opener. So now they're level on points. James Rowe Jr., as you can see on screen there, also finished on the podium there in third place. I want to give a shout out to Miles Rowe, who's former Life on the Grid guest. He had a strong run, went a couple positions better than he did at St. Pete, finishing in sixth place. And Jamie Chadwick, I felt pretty bad for her with how her race ended. She had top 5 pace this weekend once again, but just as was the case of the season opener, nothing to show for it down there with another 20th place finish. Was going for a move with 2 to go and hit the inside curbing, and that spun her out. She got stuck in the gravel, and that was the end of the race, actually, because it brought out a caution that essentially guaranteed Abel to win at that point. But in terms of the actual pace and the speed, and we'll talk more about her on the Women in Motorsports show later this week, but I think a noticeable improvement still, and hopefully when we go back to the IMS road course here in a couple of weeks, she can take advantage of that doubleheader and make up for some of the points she lost out on. Because I think that in terms of pace, she has certainly taken a step forward. She just needs to be able to close the deal now and actually convert that into strong results. All right, that is going to do it for us here on our show tonight. But before we head out, Brandon, I understand we're going to go back to the ARCA series for your one shining moment here.
Yeah, it goes for Connor Zilisch for the win, just proving that he has the ability on both the sports car world and also on the world of ovals, and getting a victory here at Dover is huge for him. And also looking at another one shining moment from that same event, Carson Quaffle and the crew applying the pit road sign to the right rear quarter panel damage that he had there in the late of the race. That was something unexpected, but it was very entertaining nonetheless. And also along those same lines, you look over in Birmingham and Barber Motorsports Park, and we see the Taylor Swift looking mannequin falling off the bridge. So, and also getting her hand ripped off by a tire. So kind of odd, those two events happening in the same weekend. That's pretty fun.
I got a message from Luis Torres after that picture of the mannequin and Scott McLaughlin got posted, and he made the same comparison. He said they must have modeled it after Taylor Swift. So you're not the first person that's made that comparison here in the last 24 hours or so, Brandon. But that was absolutely insane. I don't think, just when you think you've seen it all in the sport, you see a mannequin fall off a crossover bridge at Barber Motorsports Park, and unfortunately for the mannequin, ended up losing a hand as part of that as well. But could have been a lot worse. So nice photo op opportunity with Scotty Mack there after the race. But yeah, that was wild to watch in real time.
I'll help us go viral here. That was from the Tortured Mannequins Department. You're welcome.
There you go. I guess we'll leave it there for the Taylor Swift reference here tonight, because goodness knows we certainly haven't seen enough of those over the last week or so. But
not enough.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out, and I want to thank our colleague Matt White for bringing this up in our programming chat this week. We usually don't talk Moto2 unless our friend Josh Birch is here, because we don't get as much coverage here in the States. He's certainly much more familiar with that series here, but we do try to bring it up from time to time. Joe Roberts is the points leader in that series right now, and he is an American driver, so an American leading the Moto2 standings with 3 runner-up finishes in the first 4 races, 7th in Qatar, and then 2nd at Portugal, and then at COTA, and then this week in Spain as well. So his season is off to a good start, and way to represent the United States of America, Joe Roberts. That is my one shining moment for this weekend.
Very nice. I love the 2-wheel action, although we're not able to see it that much at all.
Yeah, but I got to say, it's been a good start to the year for MotoGP as well. We've enjoyed covering it on wrap-up shows on Sundays, and the MotoGP race at COTA was, from what I understand, I mean, again, I don't follow the series as closely, but I know Matt and Joe are both saying, one of the best races of the last decade. Forget just the start to the season. It was certainly a great show for everybody down there in Austin, Texas, and good to see again some American representation in Moto 2 as well. So we'll continue to monitor Joe Roberts' season here, and sure we'll get our friend Josh Birch back on the show soon enough once the F3 and F2 seasons continue to run some more of their races, and we'll keep you updated on his championship fight as well. But in the meantime, that's going to do it for our show tonight here on Grid Encore. So thank you all so much for watching, and make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms, X/Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, Threads, and most importantly, subscribe to us right here on YouTube. Join the 1,000+ subscribers to our YouTube channel. Thank you all again so much for helping us hit that milestone. If you really liked what you saw tonight, you can take a few minutes after the show to invest in our Patreon. Join Colin Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew in helping keep us on the air throughout 2024 and beyond. Our long-term goal of $500 per month will allow us to begin attending races on site on a more regular basis, expanding our coverage for you, the viewers. And you can also become a member of the Grid Network YouTube channel as well. Or if you'd rather make a one-time donation, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below. You can buy a coffee for your favorite on-air talent, whether it's here on the Encore Show or any of our programs. Any amount will help us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, we now have the Super Chats enabled as well. Now on Wednesday, Grid Tonight, we'll be back with our friend Josh Birch, along with Toby Lambeth and Matt White. Women Motorsports back this week as well. I know we took the week off last week, but we will be back with a show. We got a lot to recap with Joe Samaniego and Isha Azim, so stay tuned for that. And, of course, stay tuned for more Grid Live coverage this upcoming weekend with pre-race and wrap-up, and then we'll do it all again here in 7 days on Grid Encore next week. Brendan, any final thoughts before we sign off for this evening?
Time to go slip it and slide in next weekend at Kansas Speedway. Should be a lot of fun. A April tradition before we get into the month of May. Well, actually, we'll be in May, so it's the start of the month of May, I should say.
It falls on the back end of April, beginning of May, I feel like, every year.
Yeah.
But certainly looking forward to the month of May. I know we talked a bit on the wrap-up show with Kyle Larson having a strong run in the Cup race. How he's firing on all cylinders right now. What's his double results going to look like here with Indy and Charlotte? And I think really has a strong opportunity, as good of opportunity as anybody who could be in that position to win one or maybe even both of those races. So certainly an exciting month of May up ahead, and we're looking forward to covering it here.
Yeah. Also, I know you guys probably talked about it on Grid Live, but Kevin Harvick being able to fill in the practice seat during the double is a cool deal too. Yeah,
that's going to be interesting to watch as well. For Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We will see you next week right here on Grid Encore.